Okay, so at the end of the last class, we had been looking at some of the features of search engines and how they go about their business. And we had looked at different parameters. Many search engines use spam detectors or spam filters. So if you have, say, let's say you do a search for bicycle brakes Shimano, okay? And there are two websites that, two pages that seem to be otherwise equally good. And one of them has the word bicycle 10 times and the other one only has it 5 times. One of them has brakes 10 times and the other one only has them 5 times, and one of them has Shimano 5 times and the other mention it's only 1 time, right? Well, the page that mentions the search words more would seem to be a better match for what you're looking for than the one that mentions it less. However, if you have, bicycle, 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 brakes, 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 Shimano, 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 like if you overdo it, if one page has the same words occurring over and over and over again too much, the search engine might think, okay, I have a feeling that person is just taking the piss. They might think that you're just trying to, knowing this about search engines, trying to game the system. And so you might trigger a spam alert, in which case you would be, down to the back of the queue. So, if the search engine thinks you are trying to fool it, it won't look kindly on that. And so some of them have rules and things. I mentioned, for example, that for non-text formats, some of them have trouble. So there was a very well-known car company made a super cool, sexy site all in Flash. But the search engines couldn't see inside into the Flash. So what they did was they put all of the content of the page also on the page, but in a way that you wouldn't see it. Now, if you do that, Google will have a major tizzy fit. So like if you have a page, it's a white background and black text, and then underneath that you have a load of white text and a white background. The argument being, well, it's not for the users to see, but it'll help Google do its thing. No, Google won't like that at all. Like if you have content on the page that no one can see, then you're just actually up to no good as far as Google's concerned. And so this car company got into fierce trouble because Google just shoved them down the back. So they'd spend lots of money, on graphic designers and Flash programmers making a super cool site, and Google just wasn't having it. So the things to watch for there. So if you do search for 5 things, Google will find all the pages that has those 5 things. But if there's 1,000 of those, it needs to sort them into what it thinks is the best. And so there are rankings or scores that it gives each page, and the page with the highest score will be highest up. So one of the earliest things that Google did, it figured out that one metric you could use for the quality of a website is the number of websites linking to it. So if you have 2 web pages that appear equally good, but 100 other websites link to this cool site on skateboarding, and only 10 other websites link to this other site on skateboarding, it might conclude the one that has lots of links to it is very good. And so there are a whole number of things. So that was one of the first things Google did. Now it incorporates many other features as well now. So trying to improve your score is a perfectly reasonable and legitimate thing to want to do. And you can so most search engines would publish information and guides about things you can do in order to make sure that your website ranks fairly highly when it should. And that's something we're going to look a lot at over the next week or so. However, there are two approaches to that. In many respects, Google is a bit like a dating agency. You know, there's someone looking for a particular type of page, and then you want to design your page in such a way that it's easy for Google to identify what kind of page that is, and then Google can put the person looking for that and your page together, and everybody's happy. However, if you try to cheat, you know, if someone is looking, you know, for someone who's, you know, 6'2" and muscular, and you know, your web page is posing as, you know, even you're actually only, you know, 5'11" and a bit scrawny, but you know, tart up the web page to make it look like it's something that it's not. Well, then that's cheating, and Google might get cross if it finds out about that. And there are companies out there who will happily sell you a service where they can improve your rankings in Google. And some of the stuff they do is good, and some of the stuff they do is not so good. So I mean, if you're going on a date, you can put on nice clothes, you know, but you know, there's cheating as well. And in general, they'll happily take your money, and your site might well go up in the rankings in the short term, but you might find that in the long term it doesn't work. So we have white hat SEO, we call it, and black hat SEO, search engine optimization. And so we can look at some examples of websites where, you know, you're making it difficult for the search engine to find you. Okay. Now, so we're going to look now at how search engines actually work, how you would use them. Okay, so we all know you type in the words you want, and you know, yippee-doo, it comes back with stuff. And Google is and other search engines are pretty good at what they do. You know, you generally get what you're looking for fairly easily. Some search engines allow you to connect up an API. So if you take, say, Google Maps is a good one. You can put Google Maps on your website, and Google will give you the code where you can plug in to Google. Also, you might, you know, they might give you some sort of thing where you can plug into their database and do searches and stuff. Okay. Now, Google's success comes from matching the terms you give it to web pages that you might want. And it does that using a number of things. Obviously, if you search for 5 things, it'll find pages with those 5 words. But there's more going on than that. So if, for example, I do a search for pizza, we get a number of things here now. So I mentioned before that Google does advertising, and Google is very pedantic about making it very clear what's an ad and what's just natural part of the search. Now, it used to be even in a different color background. This is much more discreet than it used to be. It used to be, you know, woo, I'm an ad, I'm an ad, I'm an ad. It's like, I'm an ad, but, you know, feel free to click on me anyway. Okay, so the first real search term it comes up with is Wikipedia. Now, let's face it, Wikipedia is very good, and if there's something you want to know about, Wikipedia is quite a good quality source. Okay. Next up then, we have Apache. Now, I mean, if you're coming from Mars, you know, and you connect into the human computer network, and you search about this food they eat called pizza, I think giving someone, you know, Wikipedia as the number 1 result is a good choice. But what's special about Apache pizza like? I mean, if you're coming from another planet, you know, I mean, is Apache pizza like the best pizza on the planet? I mean, I would argue probably not. So why is it giving me Apache Pizza as number 2? Well, it knows not only that I'm in Ireland, it knows we're in Bishopstown right now. It knows this machine is in Bishopstown, or in this part of Cork. So it's figured out, it's figured out that the closest pizza place to me right now is Apache Pizza. So it's using the fact that it knows where I am, if it can figure out where I am. Now, obviously, when the Martians come and connect, they may have to spoof their IP address or something to, whatever. Domino's, I guess, is just fairly big. Is Domino's the next second closest pizza to me? I don't know. What's the place on Washington Street? Is that 4-star or Domino's?
4-star in Bishopstown.
Oh, there's 4-star in Bishopstown. And where's 4-star pizza here now? And there. Okay, so 4-star is, pretty close as well. And then an article on some pizza restaurant. Okay. So it knows where I am, and it's factoring that into the search, which makes sense. I could be looking for a recipe for pizza, but there's a good chance I just want to actually order a pizza. And it's using the fact that it knows where I am to improve the search. It also knows that that my preferred language is English. So it gave me loads of pages in English. Now you might say, well, if it knows you're in Ireland, then obviously it knows, your preferred language is English. But, when you search on Google, does it come back with results in French? No.
I would never have Apache.
You'd never have Apache? Oh, you never have Apache Pizza? It wouldn't come up? No, but saying when you do a search, does it come back with results in English and in French? No, always in English.
In French? If it's in French.
It depends on the word you put in.
Yeah, it depends.
Well, pizza is pizza in French and in English, for example. So if Google knows, for example, that you have an interest in stuff in French, if it figures that out about you, you might find that the results come back some in English, some in French. And then it also knows things about you individually. Okay? So, it's possible, for example, if Google had figured out that I was a vegetarian, it might have referred me to a different pizza place that was renowned for its vegetarian pizzas. And this is where it gets interesting. That Google knows this computer is in Cork right now, and so it can draw conclusions from that. That's not so strange or startling. That it knows that, people in Cork prefer stuff in English, for the most part, is not strange or startling. But what does start to get strange and startling and downright creepy is when Google starts to use what it knows about me individually. And it does help Google give me great results, but it does also freak me out a little bit from time to time. So there was a guy I heard him say once, and I thought it was very true. He said, on the internet, if you're not paying for something, you're not the customer, you're the product. And when you use your Gmail, it's great and it's convenient and it works really well, and you've loads of space and it's so handy. What Google gets in exchange for that is it gets to read your email. Google, now there isn't some guy sitting in the headquarters in Dublin going through everything, but Google's machines, Google's algorithms go through your email and try to figure out as much as they can about you. Google also knows everything you've ever searched for on Google, and when you got search results, which ones you clicked on. Google, if you've clicked on ads that were on the Google network, then Google knows which ads you've clicked on. And so Google can start to draw conclusions from that about you and the kind of person you are. Now, it's not always accurate. I've discovered that it only takes one Kylie CD to turn you from a straight man into a gay man. And it all of a sudden knows everything about you, it thinks. But what's interesting is that, you know, you might be chatting with your friends or sending emails and about, say, a trip you're planning to Edinburgh. And then all of a sudden, you know, when you go to Apache Pizza, there's an ad for hotels and cool things to do in Edinburgh. And on the one hand, like, that's really, really great because you are interested in cool things to do in Edinburgh. On the other hand, it's really kind of creepy, you know? So I'd like you to do as an exercise, although in some senses it's a futile exercise. Get into groups there and discuss the kinds of things that Google might know about you that not everyone knows, except of course they're probably not the things you talk about in class anyway. So maybe, you know, you have a friend that Google might know these things about them. But just an idea of, like, if I had everything you ever searched for, every ad you ever clicked on, every Gmail you ever had, every instant message you ever had, what could I tell about you? Have a think about that.